of South Carolina. And I want to apologize beforehand for bombarding you with questions that are rooted in such simplicity, but I think they're necessary to answer as we navigate our journey to 2014. The first question is, how far have we come? And the next question is, where do we go from here? Now, I think congressmen will appreciate this, because whenever I ask the question, how far have I come, or how far have we come, you always have to use some historical context. And for me, it's 1949, not too far away from here in Clarendon County, South Carolina, where the parents of young African-American children simply wanted their children to have the same opportunity to ride the school bus as their white peers. So these parents decided they were going to file a lawsuit which was known as Briggs v. Elliott in Clarendon County, South Carolina. And Briggs v. Elliott became the foundation for the landmark case of Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. And in Brown versus the Board of Education, they had a ruling, a holding that came down in 1954 by Chief Justice Earl Warren. It was a rare unanimous opinion. It was 9-0. And in that ruling, he held that segregation causes a sense of inferiority by placing children in environments not conducive to learning. Now the challenge is, over 50 some odd years later, ask yourself that very simple question: how far have we come? In 2010, I had the opportunity to be in People magazine and Time magazine during the same week. But People magazine ran this special expose on schools that were still falling apart. And one of the schools they profiled in that People magazine was Denmark-Ola Primary School, which is 1.3 miles away from my home. And the day before I sent the photog into the school, the cafeteria roof collapsed. And now I hear the oohs and the ahs and the moans and the groans, because we're all the learned people. We're all very educated. We're the brightest of the brightest. We watch CNN and MSNBC, and I know some of you all sneak and watch Fox News, and that's okay. But, you know, we did not hear about this. It did not make the CNN news ticker. It did not make the front page of the Aiken Standard or the Times and Democrat or the state newspaper or the Washington Post, because that is no longer atypical. Right. But that is the condition of schools that many people go to school in today as we speak. So again, ask yourself that very simple question: how far have we come? We live in a community where kids still go to school where their heating and air don't work, where their infrastructure is falling apart, where they have pop-up books from 1984, the same year I was born. So again, ask yourself that very simple question: how far have we come? We live in communities much like this one, where the trap of impoverishment has placed its grasp on both our newborn and elderly alike, and escaping that trap of impoverishment has become synonymous with the proverbial dog that chases his tail. So then again, ask yourself that very simple question: how far have we come? And in my 29 years of great wisdom, I have come to the resolve that the answer to the question, how far have we come, is that we've made progress. Nevertheless, we still have a ways to go. So then we change focus, we shift gears and ask ourselves that next question as we build upon this journey to victory, this journey to 2014, this journey to excellence, which is, where do we go from here? It lies in my yearning to want to run for office. It lies in my yearning to want to be like Jim Clyburn, or be like Nelson Mandela, or be like Bill Clyburn. But for me, it goes back to a story in February of 1968, where many of us know this story and we nod heads, but it's oftentimes good just to hear it one more time. And you think about how those children at South Carolina State College, as it was known at the time, decided they were going to protest that All-Star Bowling alley. And you think about how they gathered and felt good in their warmth in front of that All-Star Bowling alley on the night of the 6th, and how the state troopers closed ranks like they did, and how the state troopers beat many of the students that night, not with normal batons, but with police batons that were about this long, and at the end they had these leather rawhide whips. You think about how many of the students that night were beaten across their backs, in the back of their heads, and they had to go back to their campus and heal not only their physical wounds, but their emotional wounds and mental wounds as well. And you think about February 7th, and how that day was wrought with tension. The tension was so thick that you could cut it with a knife, but nothing happened. And then that fateful day of February 8th, 1968 happened, and those students went back to the All-Star Bowling Alley and they began to clap and chant and sing protest hymns. And when the state troopers came, they got the right idea and they went back to their campus. And when they got back to their campus, you can imagine what a February night in South Carolina feels like. You can imagine how the doting embers illuminate the night's air and how the warmth from the fire just warms your chilled bones just oh so much. And you think about the state troopers who lined up along the embankment in front of their beloved campus, and you think about for 8 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How shots were fired into the group of students, but not rubber bullets and not tear gas, but deadly double-aught buckshots. And Henry Smith, Samuel Hammond, and Delano Middleton lay dead while 28 others were wounded. And you think about that, it was the greatest and most deadliest civil rights demonstration in the history of this country. And I always think about that young man from Denmark, South Carolina, who was arrested that night, who was shot in the shoulder, who was facing 5 felony counts. Backdated the indictment, he ended up being charged, tried, and convicted of rioting, becoming the first and only one-man riot in the history of this country. And I think about how his eyes no longer pop like they used to, or his shoulders aren't as upright as they once were from carrying the burdens of a generation. And then I ask myself that question, where do we go from here? And it lies fundamentally in the ability for us to believe what other people think is impossible. A lot of people tell me my journey is in vain. A lot of people tell me my journey is impossible. But I think about that question, where do we go from here? And I believe that it lies fundamentally in the ability for us to dream with our eyes open. For us to be able to have faith in the unseen. For us to be able to do the things and understand that in this state of South Carolina, we can do better. That we do not have to settle for elderly people who have to make decisions about whether or not they're going to buy their prescription drugs or get their utility drugs because utility bills paid, because we can do better. We have to think about those kids who are going to school in Jasper County, in Allendale County, how they do not have the facilities that they have in Spartanburg or Greenville County, and how we're not preparing them for a 21st century global economy, and understand fundamentally that we can do better. Here in Aiken County, we have to understand that we need to register voters. We have to understand that we need to go door to door and drag people out of their homes if we have to. Because 2014 is not just another year. 2014 is not just another election. It's not just names on the ballot, but it's an opportunity for us to change the direction of this great state. You think about Majestic Simpkins, you think about Septima Clark. You think about people who've given up so much. You think about Jimmy Lee Jackson. You think about Medgar Evers, you think about Emmett Till. You think about powerful names of people who have given so much. And ask yourself these 2 very simple questions as we leave here tonight. I just want you to believe first. I just want you to fundamentally believe that it can be done. I want you to fundamentally believe that the goal at the end of this journey is victory, and we can have that. I want you to stand up with me and be proud to be a Democrat. But more importantly, I want you to pray hard. I want you to believe that our journey is true. And understand that we can do better, and in 2014, I will win, Vincent will win, Jim Clyburn will win, and the children that grow up after us will be oh so proud. Thank you, and God bless you.